I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Friday, April the 18th, 2014. A meeting that was said to have taken place yesterday between Israeli and Palestinian negotiators has reportedly not yielded any real progress. Chief Israeli and Palestinian negotiators were said to have met last night in an effort to extend peace talks beyond the upcoming April 29th deadline that was put into place by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry when talks restarted this past summer. U.S. peace envoy and mediator Martin Indyk reportedly took part in last night's meeting after arriving back in the region. The meeting was said to have been difficult, with wide gaps still remaining between the sides. Ynet reports that Indyk would meet separately with the Israelis and the Palestinians before holding another joint negotiating meeting, possibly today. The Times of Israel reports that Indyk was planning to meet with Chief Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat in Jericho this morning. It remains unclear at the moment who was behind leaflets calling on Jews in Ukraine to register themselves. Leaflets were reportedly handed out on the eve of Passover this week in the eastern Ukraine city of Donetsk by three men wearing masks calling on the Jews in that area over the age of 16 to register and pay a special fee or face deportation and other consequences. The leaflets claim to have come from the Donetsk People's Republic, an unrecognized breakaway authority that wishes to join Russia. The group has denied any involvement and says the leaflets are fake. The leaflets are also signed by the group's leader in the city, Denis Pushilin, who also denies that his group was involved and says his signature is fake as well. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry called the leaflets grotesque. Kerry told reporters while in Geneva yesterday that in the year 2014, after all of the miles traveled and all of the journey of history, this is not just intolerable, it's grotesque, it is beyond unacceptable. And any of the people who engage in these kinds of activities, Kerry said, from whatever party or whatever ideology or whatever place they crawl out of, there is no place for that. The leaflets are seen by some as an attempt to instill fear in the Jewish community in Ukraine and to provoke a conflict and then put the blame on the separatist group. Edward Delinsky of the Ukrainian Jewish Committee told the Jerusalem Post that the flyers appeared to be a provocation, but that it was impossible to say who was behind them. The Simon Wiesenthal Center said that the U.S. ambassador in Kiev, Jeffrey Pyatt, told them that the flyers were, quote, clearly part of a general effort to sow fear among Ukrainian Jews. The Wiesenthal Center condemned the flyers, as did the Anti-Defamation League. ADL National Director Abe Foxman said, "We are skeptical about the flyers' authenticity, but the instructions clearly recall the Nazi era and have the effect of intimidating the local Jewish community." Foxman called on all parties involved in the political conflicts in Ukraine to refrain from, quote, cynical and politically manipulative exploitations of anti-Semitism. A planned attack on Israeli tourists in Thailand was reportedly thwarted this week. According to local media, two men were arrested in Thailand on suspicion of planning an attack against Israelis in Bangkok. One of them has confessed. According to the Bangkok Post, Lebanese-French citizen Daoud Farhat and Lebanese-Philippine citizen Yusuf Ayad were detained for questioning on Tuesday. A third man named in connection to the arrest was Bilal Bassoon, but it was unclear whether he was in the country. Ayad confessed that he and at least two others entered Thailand to carry out a bombing over the Passover holiday. Both Ayad and Farhat have been on the Thai immigration watch list for possible ties to terror group Hezbollah. The report also says that law enforcement in the country were acting on intelligence information provided to them by Israel, and that the two suspects would be deported after the completion of the investigation. In what appears to be another price tag attack, anti-Arab graffiti was spray-painted on the walls of a mosque in the Arab village of el-Fahim in northern Israel today, and the door of the mosque was set on fire. Price tag attacks are thought to be the work of right-wing Jewish extremists in protest of the Israeli government's policies towards the settlements and in response to Palestinian terror. Security cameras in the area seem to show three masked men involved in the incident. Head of Fachem Police Force Chief Superintendent Shimon Azran said that police units were immediately dispatched to the scene today and that an investigation was ongoing. Azran said this is a nationalistic hate crime and Israel Police is a national police that serves all residents of the country, adding that the residents of Fachem can rest assured that the investigation will be thorough. No arrests have been made as of yet. Hungary began a series of ceremonies this week to commemorate the Holocaust. The events were organized by the Hungarian government under Prime Minister Viktor Orban and include a ceremony at Budapest's Holocaust Museum where trees are to be planted and a ceremony where candles will be lit in memory of Holocaust victims by the Danube River, commemorating the thousands of Jews who were shot into the water between 1944 and 1945 by the Hungarian Arrow Cross militia. 600,000 Hungarian Jews perished in the Holocaust, and the commemorations this year are part of a program called Holocaust 2014, marking the 70th anniversary of the day when Hungarian Jews were first put into ghettos in 1944. However, Jewish groups in the country have expressed their protest of the program, accusing the Hungarian government of whitewashing Hungary's role in the mass deportation of Jews from the country. Hungary's largest Jewish organization, Mazsiz, said it will boycott all Holocaust 2014 events. Earlier this week, hundreds of protesters blocked work being done on a monument in Budapest that commemorates the victims of Hungary's occupation by Nazi Germany in 1944. The planned monument represents a German imperial eagle attacking Hungary, which is depicted as the Archangel Gabriel. Critics say the monument doesn't accurately reflect history and absolves Hungary for its active role in sending hundreds of thousands of Jews to their deaths. The Jewish Week reports that Jewish American contractor Alan Gross has ended his hunger strike. The 64-year-old has been jailed in Cuba for over 4 years and is serving a 15-year sentence for crimes against the state after he was arrested for supplying internet and computer access to the Jewish community there. Gross began the hunger strike on April the 3rd in protest of his treatment by Cuba and to pressure the U.S. and Cuba to resolve his ordeal. His attorney said today that Gross stopped his protest at the request of his mother, who is 92 and battling cancer. Thousands of Christians marked Good Friday today in Jerusalem. Christian pilgrims filled the Holy City with prayers and processions through the cobblestone alleyways of the Old City, making their way along the Via Dolorosa, carrying wooden crosses through the 14 stations and ending at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Meanwhile, Israeli police were doing their best to keep the Old City calm. Police once again limited access to Jerusalem's Temple Mount today after recent riots and clashes at the site over the last few days, and several Arab youth were arrested yesterday. Today, police spokesman Mickey Rosenfeld said the access to the holy site was not permitted by men under the age of 50. The restricted access was put into place in an attempt to prevent any further unrest. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Friday, April the 18th, 2014. Remember, live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom.